I'm just more excited it works. I mean, Jesus Christ!
I just hacked your Twitter account. We figured out your password was hot damn. I am one sexy man. So
wow.
I thought it was creative and unique.
in Klingon.
Huh? In Klingon. Really the part that threw us, yeah.
Did you ever try to do a VPN out of Vietnam when you were there?
I did not. I did VPN out of Shanghai when I was there, but Vietnam, I was able to get everything I wanted to.
Yeah, no, this thing was, it's quirky at best. I'm on the hotel Wi-Fi right now, and it just all of a sudden will shut off. It's like the VPN works fine. ExpressVPN, by the way, if you ever have to use a VPN, it actually works. It's just getting a good, consistent signal and getting the speed bandwidth where it actually works and so forth. This is more of a challenge point to it.
Well, I think then we should definitely greet all the Chinese officials who are watching, even though they are not in the official list here. So.
Welcome to the Information Department of the People's Republic of China. Our whole brand new audience. Unfortunately, we're based on today because that and the great Chinese Gmail or Google Wall I mean, it's amazing. Anyway, you all traveled enough. It's an interesting place to be here kind of stuff. So
I never did get your email. So email side never came through.
So text works, email doesn't work.
Text works. Yeah, your email's getting screened, obviously.
Somebody in China right now is going, so neat little Twitter account that we got going on here. Let me go and use this now.
Yeah, we were ready to have some serious fun with your Twitter account, Lauren.
Yeah, we wanted to see if any of us could get you detained.
Yeah, exactly.
Via Twitter.
All you had to do was just a little bit more, probably be the last straw on the camel's back. It probably wouldn't be that you wouldn't have to do that much. This was the last thing before they finally said, I'm going to bring him in now. I think it's time that we keep him out of our country.
Yeah.
Hey, I come empty-handed. I'm sorry I didn't send an agenda item out. I had a couple of ideas and stuff, but I'm sure that between the four of us, we can come up with some things fast and quick. I did want to bring up, just from a tool point of view, the Facebook Live, because that thing's going crazy right now. I don't know whether you guys are seeing, but every newscast in the world has adopted Facebook Live like it was Periscope when it first launched. Yeah. And Facebook Live as a using tool, it's kind of some people using it to get out their brand message. I thought that was something interesting. And then the news, I was always relying on Rob. But anyway, so I'll just leave it up. What would you like to talk about first this afternoon, gentlemen?
I threw out 3 news topics, which were, one was Vista Equity Partners acquiring Cvent. So I don't know if you want to go into the group space, which is kind of interesting. Hyatt is now offering 10% discounts to book direct, but the rates are not loaded in the GDS. So Asta not very happy about that. And last was Airbnb updated their app to make it more personalized and that sort of thing. And with a new, backed with a new ad campaign, which is "Don't go there, live there," which is pretty clever. So.
You have a link for that one? But anyway, we should officially start off since I'm so dramatically late. Welcome to This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing. I am one of your latent bad. I should not even be host today. I should just be the quiet person in the back with the dramatic lighting as if I was being quizzed.
I feel a little like Mork and Mindy talking to the big giant head. Oh no, you're frozen.
He's frozen. It's perfect. And actually, I need a screenshot of this.
That's fantastic. I'm doing the same. That's great.
Oh, how wonderful is that? Oh, he disappeared before I could get it.
We lost Lauren.
Now let's see if we're still on. I don't know.
I don't know.
It says recording.
It does say recording.
It says recording.
Greg, our viewer, can you hear us in Boston? Oh, wait, of course we're still on. We're talking to each other.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
it says recording.
Let's think that through.
Huh. That's interesting. So we now know another feature of Blab is when the organizer leaves, we can continue the conversation.
You can cut
now
off.
Now the real question is, will this ever stop recording?
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know if you've heard about the new longest movie ever shot. It's a 30-day long movie, and the preview for it's 2 hours long.
Michael Bay?
Oh, God help us all. Oh.
Shit blown up for 2 hours, for 30 days.
It's basically Boyhood, except it's now like months.
Oh, real time. Boyhood in real time.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Well, Robert,
Okay.
you threw out 3 good topics. So while we're waiting for Lauren, why don't we circle?
Yeah,
these-
and who knows if he'll be able to get back in.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
I like,
Anyway.
I think the Vista equity deal is very interesting.
Yeah.
If you now look at if they're rolling that all up together with Lanyon, I mean, they now have got to be the leader in group technology by a substantial margin.
They've got
number 2.
almost everything because
Right.
Vista had previously bought Lanyon, they bought Starsight
Passkey.
and Passkey.
Passkey. Yep.
And so number 2 would be Amadeus has Newmarket. That would have closed the loop. I don't know.
Well, that's the point. I mean, like it's going to be interesting to see what that does to the group technology space. There were a lot of startups coming in to that space over the last 24, 36 months, and if you spoke to any of them, they all kind of looked at, 2 potential buyers in the market, Lanyon or Cvent, that kind of just got blown away to just one.
Yeah. Well, and then I think the big question is, and someone asked me this yesterday, if they thought it was going to be blocked by the Department of Justice, and I was just like, I don't see it. I mean, if they let Expedia buy Orbitz and Travelocity,
Right.
sort of thing.
If they let
yes, they have
Marriott
domination
buy
by
Starwood.
By Starwood, right.
Yeah. I mean, do they even know things like this happens? Is this even big enough?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's a lot of volume. I mean, they've got, across all that, it's true, it's big. But the point that this fellow is speaking with, just asked the question. He goes, well, yeah, but if there's not a second competitor, does that create an issue?
So here's a question though: what percentage of group business goes through, the various tools, right?
Minuscule amount. I mean, in the release, it was something like, it was a couple $2 billion go through the companies. I thought I saw in the release, and the groups and meetings market's, $500 billion market, isn't it?
Right.
Oh yeah, it's huge. Now it's interesting. A lot of here's Lauren coming back.
Hey, he's back.
I've been texting him back and forth. He's saying, "I'm a blank screen. Am I frozen?"
More than frozen.
Yeah, but yeah, it's interesting because on the RFP side, they're certainly involved in a lot of certainly Hyatt and Starwood, and a lot of these guys use Lanyon and that sort of thing. But again, I don't know.
I mean, it's one of the things, and since this is hospitality digital, right? I mean, the group's business has been strangely resistant to digital.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it just doesn't seem to work that way near as much, and so they're carving out a nice piece of business. I mean, nobody's going to turn their nose up at a couple $2 billion.
Oh yeah.
But
I think the challenge is if you actually look at what when you're talking about group travel, it's kind of the opposite of leisure travel, where most of the revenue's in the long tail in group travel. Groups are over 10 rooms, under 20 rooms are most of the revenue in the group market, not these mega groups. So,
yeah, but you look at groups like Hyatt. Hyatt traditionally, and now I don't know if it's changed recently. It's got like 40%. It's probably changed a little bit with Hyatt Places, but 40% of their revenue is group.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's massive, and then you have all the national sales organizations and everything like that who are like, wait a second, But again, you wind up, if you're a meeting planner, using something like Cvent, yes, it may, cost certain things, but you now have a marketplace, sort of thing. You've got really good business intelligence, and it's
it'll be nice too because
easier,
they both seem to be going down that track of building a marketplace. So maybe this will create a standard out of it, rather than 2 disparate marketplaces fighting each other.
Yeah. So anyway, we will see. But 1.6 billion. So that's not too bad for those guys.
Yeah.
And what does it feel like when you get that check?
Well, first of all,
if it's that small, he wouldn't know.
when you negotiate and you ask them to present the payment in the form of an oversized check, they don't take it seriously. Unfortunately, it's wire transfer, and that's just boring because you're just like refresh.
Really? I've always done satchels of unmarked bills and
that's what I'm looking for.
Some sort of tax haven.
Left in a mailbox on the corner of.
Just ship me a few hundred mattresses stuffed.
Yeah, exactly. Surfboards, yeah. So, Viva down for Lauren. Yeah, he could see himself, but nobody else. So he's operating on a separate plane. So
maybe
anyway.
he should Facebook Live himself to us, and we'll Facebook Live him to Periscope.
That's right.
To then put it into not QuickTime, to FaceTime.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
I can just hold Lauren in my hand.
He's trying.
So
Vista Equino, interesting roll-up strategy company, and they all, if you look at who they've bought and put together, they were purchases. These weren't easy companies to buy. A lot of them had been on the market for a while. Had done some changing to their models in order to get to an exit.
Oh, yeah.
So they, whoever's behind the scenes at Vista really seems to be passionate about this space. More so than others.
Right. Yeah. These were not just little slam dunk type things, but and I think they certainly had a plan. I don't know. I'm trying to remember when they got Lanyon, but yeah, the whole pivot really to kind of go towards Starseed and that sort of thing was was a very, very smart move. But they have some other stuff. I'm just looking at their site. They're invested in Tibco, which is some really interesting transactional, analytic where does some really powerful stuff. Has always been kind of on the fringe of travel and hospitality, but never really, I don't think heavily. I think they do some stuff for some airlines, but they've never really been able to penetrate hospitality in a big way, I don't think.
Actually, we were a customer at Sendant years
were they?
Years ago. They're really, really big in the financial space.
Right, yeah.
Because they do a lot with like real-time type of stuff.
And we were talking to them at Sabre, actually right before Sabre, before we invested the $1 million in Passkey. We were looking at doing some things in Tibco, but didn't.
Which Passkey is now
Lanyon.
Lanyon, right. Yeah. So, and that's we thought at Sabre, Passkey was kind of interesting, but Sabre wasn't interested in hotels at that point in time. Oops. Strategic error. I think I said on an earlier thing, we had a little strategy thing there, and to basically vertically integrate GDS, CRS, PMS.
Right.
And it would have worked. We had McKinsey in for couple months, $500,000 in consulting fees to them. Right around kind of the same fee levels that Tim gets. So, but really, it's gone up since. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you forgot to adjust for inflation.
Yeah, exactly. But we had them in.
That's how I pay for this lovely space.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, no guitar today. Even at least
it's there. It's just out of frame.
There we go.
I see.
But I quickly drew stuff up on my board to make it look like I do important things.
That's right. So we've got to sneak into Ed's office and something replaced with like a My Little Pony movie, poster instead of the Avengers or something.
You're just not looking at this side.
Oh, I see.
Ed's kids.
The Smurfs,
yeah. In that realm, actually. So.
Anyway, though, that strategy at Sabre that we put together, year 4 stabilized about $680 million a year. And anywhere between a $3 million to $90 million investment. We had a couple different structures, and they just said no. They didn't like hotel. They had been burnt on a way back ancient history, the Confirm project, which was 92-ish, which was $125 million write-off for AMR. So, they equated hotels bad.
Right.
So,
that
really, really foolish. They could have. That would have been a real shift change in the industry.
Yeah.
But, so
interesting times. And, not that unpredictably, Hyatt is now offering a discount to book direct. I wonder where they got that idea from.
Yeah. They said up to 10%. And which, certainly copying that. Now, the others have kind of appeased Asta and that sort of, they've talked to them and said, oh, no, we aren't. Hyatt, I don't think is done. I don't know if they were, being more aggressive.
Obviously, we're watching these blabcasts where we discuss those things.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they would have been more proactive.
That's right.
They didn't see it coming.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see what. I don't know. I mean, are the travel agents really going to start telling the Hyatt Gold Passport guys, no, you can't do this, or is it going to wind up being so?
And here's the thing: why do they get special treatment? They're still taking a cut of the distribution of it. If a hotel or a hotel group decides that a channel gets preferred treatment because it's the lowest cost channel, why all of a sudden does it matter? Because obviously you don't make these moves unless you're willing to bet the chips all on the table at once and say, if all else fails, this channel supports enough business and can grow. So I mean, who cares? Like, they're either going to do it or they're not. I mean, but bottom line is if it's a direct campaign and they're saying our version of direct is this, like, get over it. It's, or work for Hyatt.
Yeah. And my question is the hotel industry now consolidated enough where they can kind of copy some of the airline industry things where they start taking turns on, Group A makes a move, controversial, oh, they're the outliers, and then B and C follow them, and then it becomes the norm.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it undermines, that's certainly how it happened with travel agency commissions and airlines, with bag fees, with, you just go right down the list. That will be something to watch.
I still go back to, and I realize this is probably a drum I beat a lot, but I still go back to this issue of, think about the hotels that aren't really differentiated. I mean, why do customers book where they book? They book where they book because they get a good experience, they get a good rate, they get a room that meets their needs for a particular stay.
Right.
And, when we talk about when hotels have to compete solely on price, come here and we'll give you a better rate. Come here and we'll do something. What they're basically conceding is there's no other good reason to stay with us than we're the cheapest way to do that.
Right, but I mean, so if you're talking about direct channel, direct channel's the best way to get it. It's because they can't compete in user experience. I mean,
right.
And this is mainly because they're haunted by being an older company. So they have legacy technology and they have the hub and spoke of these installs at the properties, which Expedia doesn't have, Booking.com doesn't have. So, already they're at a disadvantage on user experience because they're pulled back by this massive infrastructure. Right. They do have to compete on price a bit because experience is just not something they can go toe to toe on, nor can they spend to compete on user experience.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and in many cases it's to go to the lowest common denominator because they don't want to hatchet out a group unless things get really bad, like when Holiday Inns really went through and cleaned up their portfolio because it really was full of cats and dogs. And I can't remember, it was a lot of hotels, like 500 hotels or something kind of got cast, which was kind of the birth of 4 Points, I think, at that point, right? As I recall. Days in the Store did very well in terms of signing up, so that sort of thing. Up some, but when they do that sort of thing, that's a dramatic move because it's kind of, wait a second, let's keep those checks coming in, and don't kill that revenue stream just on some sort of idealistic grounds. What
I do think is interesting though is, like, you've been watching Hilton play out their strategy, and they've been backing what they stepped into. I mean, they have definitely amped up their spending. Their ads have been good. Their promotions have been good. they appear to be following through, not just saying, hey, yeah, this is the best place to get the best rate. They actually seem to be trying to up their game and compete more on that level.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see if Hyatt is just doing the 10% discount or if they're also going to up their game. I mean, because the Hilton app was another big step into making a key differentiator, and it's a really good app.
And Hilton right now is really the only one where you can check in and use it in your door and things like that. Right. I mean, they've done it. The other guys don't. They don't have it.
What they did really intelligently, from my perspective, is they invested in things like the locks. They invested, so they didn't wait for their franchisees to pay for the locks. They invested in the locks.
Yep. So I mean, so you change where you can compete, and that's where you dominate. Right.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's very interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. Still, it looks. The key though is how do you
Lauren, we can see your text. We were just ignoring it.
Yes, that's right. Oh yeah. So Lauren, would you like to weigh in on this topic?
Yeah, Lauren, do you have anything to say? We'll read your text in a funny voice.
Exactly.
So
see, now he just wanted. He just wanted.
That's a disturbing. Is that a hee hee?
I think it's more like
yeah.
It's a funny
laugh. Oh yes.
I think you got it right, Ed.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, but anyway, I think the real battle is going to be for kind of these brand agnostic, the large group of generally brand agnostic travelers who are picking their own destinations, and it isn't just being told by their company or someone else making the decision. They're figuring out which is the heart of the OTA business.
For sure.
We will see how that turns out. And I'm trying to remember what the third topic was. The third topic was Airbnb.
Right.
Yes. Once again, upgrading, moving, testing, figuring out what works best, and figuring out how to
continuing to pay attention to the fact that travel is not like buying socks on Amazon. It's actually something people want to be passionate about, inspired by.
Yep.
They get it.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And they've got a new, as we said before, they've got a new platform. They've got smart people. They've got the analytics, and they are figuring out what works, what doesn't work, and continuing to iterate and not afraid to change things up and just keep going. And again, I think the really big move that really showed that they really got it, and I attribute a lot of this to Chip Conley's. That was a genius hire on the part of these guys. I mean, he knows. Yeah. He knows how to do this. But when they did the deal with Concur, and all of a sudden you can go, Airbnb winds up on your expense report. That was the one that was like, oh, they're serious now.
So, but here's the only thing, I think about my own travel, and there are certain trips that Airbnb is just not going to be able to compete with. And those are the trips where you're looking for services. Yeah. So Airbnb, yes, when you're wanting to travel like a local, when you're wanting to do that stuff. But when you're looking to just completely unwind and play golf and go to the spa and eat fancy dinners, like I still would prefer a full service luxury resort over even a really nice house.
Well, I'll tell you, I also think that they struggle a little bit, depending on where you are and where you're staying, on business trips, because you have to coordinate with the host in many cases to get the key or things along those lines, right? It's
annoying.
It's a little more annoying. It adds an additional stress when you have to be this place for a business meeting, you have to be this place for a breakfast.
You're not sure if you're going to be murdered before this meeting, so you need to leave time to find out. Are you in actual danger or
exactly? But there's a little bit of a convenience factor that is, it's not as convenient. It's great for I went. I stayed in Airbnb a couple times, a handful of times, but I spent a long weekend in Paris. I had my kids there. I had a 2-bedroom apartment, and it was fantastic for that because we were centrally located in a place where it was very tough to find rooms. And
you didn't want to get two rooms at the George Cinq or something like? Come on.
I thought about it, but I thought in this case they should really live like locals,
Yes.
like peasants. So,
well, and to Lauren's point, the type of travel need is more of a critical component, and price, is more of a variable. I mean, also think about, we were just talking about travel agents and why would you use a travel agent? I mean, and I'm a younger person, so travel agents weren't the only source of travel when I started traveling. But I've used travel agents when I go to places I've never been before, and that are fundamentally different than other places I've traveled.
If the stakes are high and you don't want to screw, a destination wedding, a honeymoon, things like, maybe it's a good idea to let's get a pro involved.
Right. And so you think about that, and
Bill Fisher,
right?
I mean, you know Bill Fisher travel, I'm sure.
Yep.
I'm sure many of our audience does, right? But you have to pay $100,000 a year, but just to be a customer of Bill Fisher's. But the flip side is any trip, any room, any destination, any time, anywhere. They make it happen.
Right.
Clearly, that's not for everybody. It's not.
And I don't see
but at those places, it doesn't need to be.
But I don't see Airbnb like attacking that type of travel.
Oh, of course not. Of course not.
And I think group travel is going to be impossible for them just because of inventory and locations and all of that. And then I also still think that the economy improving is going to become a big problem for Airbnb because the people are going to get back into that. Life is good, paychecks fat. I don't want someone else staying in my vacation home.
Right.
It's, it's okay.
See it as an inventory problem more than as a customer demand problem.
Right. I don't think demand is going to be a problem for them from now on. Like, the genie's out of the bottle. People know the model. It's there. I think their problem's going to be inventory.
Right.
But when the market turns down, and I think that's going to, the big linchpin, I think, in all of this for the Book Direct campaigns for Airbnb, the next major downturn, that's going to get very, very interesting, because then the gloves
are. If you look at cycles of economy, we're a long time away from a major downturn like the one that got them started. Normally we're on 10-year cycles with pullbacks, but this recovery has been so slow and, has been so misaligned in, the entire economy hasn't recovered. And the globe, this ripple effect keeps kind of feeding back on itself, and it slows down progress. So I think it's going to be a longer period of time before you see the type of pullback. Well, no.
Those are fingers crossed, by the way, Ed. That's not me.
Oh, I thought you were just...
before you see a dot-com bubble type issue, before you see a 9/11 type issue, before you see a 2007 2008 type issue that shakes everyone to the core like those issues did, I think it's going to be a little bit long tail before you see something that bad. Now, those
aren't typical economic cycle things, though, too. I mean,
2002 was not a typical economic cycle. 2008 was not a typical.
But that also 2002 did affect every sector of the economy. I mentioned it because it affected travel so much.
Well, and I'll be very curious to see, and I hope you're right that this takes a while. In the last two cycles, and I have loads of research that shows this, I'm sure you both saw this a lot, when the economy gets hit harder, there is a cyclical basis between people booking direct and people booking through OTAs too.
Yep.
When they're more price sensitive, they tend to go to the OTA.
They do.
Exactly.
Priceline exploded. And think about what they were before that economic pullback. They were this opaque model that people kind of talked about. Pretty much only Intercontinentals used them because they had no other way to dump their inventory because they had to protect pricing levels and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, they're one of two remaining, and Booking.com came up through that. I mean, it's mainly because those companies didn't slow spending during those economic.
That's right. The big one on Priceline was Jeff Boyd became CEO, right? The founder Priceline was out because he was out saying we're going to change the whole world and no one will buy retail. They will only use this, this opaque, reverse auction model, which obviously didn't work on gasoline or groceries or anything. So yeah, they were trading at something like $1 a share, borderline bankrupt. Jeff Boyd comes in and goes, wait a second, pivot, and then the help, the coincidental timing of 9/11 as well was kind of the perfect storm to save them. And then they came out.
Coincidental?
Oh
no.
I personally, I learned this week that 7-Eleven stores were involved. I had no idea. I'm never buying a Slurpee or a Big Gulp.
Oh my gosh.
So let's see. So Lauren is saying it's hard to be dynamic with the current Airbnb rate system for booking due to the need for two-way approval, unless a pre-approval booking system gets created, which there are plenty of, depending on the market, there are plenty of instances where that is the case. We're seeing a lot more of instant book capabilities within Airbnb.
And Airbnb do have that. You can book and it's a confirmable instantly bookable rate.
And I think it underscores, Ed, what you're saying, that, in the downturn, if there is another downturn, not if, when there is another downturn, do we get more of that when the economy is picking up? Do we get less of that just because people I want more approval? So, that could certainly be something that hurts the...
and you look at, when I picture Airbnb and the different studies on them, I can tell you what city the study was done in. So like Airbnb in New York and San Francisco is exactly what they wish every market was, which is an incredibly pricey real estate market that the income doesn't support the pricing of the real estate. So they're cemented in those cities. But then I think about Orlando, and Orlando has a vacation home market, but guess what? Like, the actual managers of those properties have the contracts to market those properties and make a ton of money through doing that, because if you actually look through it, it's a pretty interesting family game where the GC, the land developer, the GC, the management company, and the remarketing organization are all less than an arm length, and they sold these properties to people who didn't realize that land in Florida is cheap.
The opportunity for additional supply is unlimited.
Well, I do this little study when I travel, where very informal or things like that, where you talk to people at a bar, things along those lines, and you ask them, what do you think of Airbnb? And obviously in places like New York or stuff like that, people have very strong opinions about it. I was out in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, not long ago, and I asked people what they thought of Airbnb, and literally to a person, and admittedly this is a test group of, 5 different people, but literally every single one of them said, what's Airbnb?
Next time someone does that, show them the Airbnb logo and ask them what it looks like.
Yeah,
since they don't
logo.
that's classic. Yeah, exactly.
But the other thing is that the satisfaction level of people who've stayed at Airbnbs are very high. People generally say, they're having good experiences. So,
but is that because you're going into it with kind of a softened expectation?
Yeah. Most definitely, which is fine, and a lot of hotels do the same thing. Well, lower those expectations and try to exceed them. Right?
Well, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. It's value.
Right.
It's not terribly high priced.
Yep.
And they set an expectation of here's what you're going to get. And
the challenge is how does Marriott get the value that Airbnb has, where if Airbnb doesn't get you murdered, they did a good job. Like if Marriott could get their stamp to start there, I think people would be happier with Marriott's, because let's not joke, you do go into these situations aware that there is a level of risk that you're taking on.
Oh, sure.
And you could be getting spied on, or you could be getting murdered on this trip. And when that doesn't happen, wow, what a nice surprise.
But again, they've got my trip. They've got the same setup as eBay, where if it's a reliable host and, they have lots of people and lots of positive reviews, that winds up being less risk, and they can charge a higher rent than the other folks. And so, you take the flyers, but I think the same thing happens if you go and look on Priceline or Hotwire, right? You'll see, wow, there's a $54 room for whatever. Ooh, it has a 6. out of 10, I don't know, 60% of the people liked it, right? And you kind of go, oh, it's cheap, but it's not going to be really bad. And again, I think it's that same sort of value dynamic of what's the risk, what's the price, of what's the look, all that stuff gets bundled together. And
so we used to talk about P's and Q's back in my Sendent days. This goes back a way, but every time I have the ability to test this, I do, and it still seems to hold true, which for most travelers, they're looking for three things. They're looking for price. Mm-hmm. They're looking for proximity to whatever else they're going to that specific trip for. And they're looking for a given set of quality. And quality is sort of a catch-all, I'm not going to lie, because it includes not just quality, but it also includes amenities and things along those lines. So that does it meet the qualities of their trip and needs, right? If I'm taking the kids to Disney, I probably want a pool. If I'm, if I can't remember the other thing. If I'm going, to my niece's wedding or something, or I'm taking my kids to college and I just need a place to stay on the trip back, whatever. I don't need a lot of amenities. I just need a good bed and a decent shower, right? And when you do that well, you actually do deliver, value. And what Airbnb has done pretty well, and especially with the ratings and especially with the reviews and things along those lines, and the tools they've given the hosts in terms of creating content and the guidelines they give hosts in terms of creating content, they do a pretty good job in terms of saying, here's how you actually define value for any given traveler for any given trip.
Have you guys just noticed?
Lots of hotels actually miss that even still.
Since Lauren can't communicate, have you noticed how many props have been given? Like I see hands just, he's like, yes. It's almost, sorry. No, but you're right. And they are going to stay in certain types of travel. Like, so if you're traveling with extended family and want to be together, or if you're going skiing, things like that, I see them being able to be dominant. But guess what? VRBO was already dominant in those areas.
Right.
So they're not bringing something new as a challenge. They're just doing a better job marketing it than VRBO did.
Well, and now with VRBO, and HomeAway, that's Expedia. So you kind of have the wars, between them of how it's, centralized, and it's going to be interesting to see on the VRBO side and HomeAway as Expedia transitions aggressively to a booking fee model versus a subscription model and things like that. I mean,
the only interesting thing that I'm sure Expedia is now sitting here kicking themselves for not thinking to buy OpenTable, because the VRBO model is badly in need of an OpenTable type model of give these people actual on-premise technology, give them door lock technology, give them the things they need to get past some of these annoyances, and then you're cutting out even the need for a management company on a lot of these properties.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. And especially if you can start saving that sort of fee and people just go, wow, this is easy. Right.
Yeah.
That's worth a bunch of, their time and aggravation is valued. The interesting thing on the P's and Q's, you're right. I mean, we built a little algorithm when we did Neat for dynamic packaging that we had to figure out the sort order, right? Because it's like, how do you put it? And, so we had to figure out little things like on flights, right? It was kind of the duration, and we never really built in, we were going to do the equipment and things like that, but never really got to that extent. But on the hotels, it was kind of the proximity, because you'd look at Las Vegas and go, wow, there at the time you had the Ritz-Carlton Lake Las Vegas, which was way out there. It was a 5-star hotel with really low rates, right? So you go, high quality, low rate, crappy proximity.
Right.
And so we figured out this, and it worked. It wasn't super, scientifically tested, but we had a few little tweaks, and it worked pretty well, because people kind of had their ceilings and how much they could spend, or their ceiling on a radius and that sort of thing. So you wound up with this little area. The interesting thing though is I found also when I went from Four Seasons hotels to Journey's End, right, which was economy, limited service, with La Quinta style.
See, we were exactly the opposite.
I've
Robert.
never even
Yeah, I
heard.
know.
What's Journey End?
It was a Canadian group that was the
Okay.
second fastest growing company across all sectors of Canada in the 88 to 89 timeframe. I headed marketing for them, and it was great. They're now Choice's master franchisee, and actually Westmont's main core of hotels.
I was 8.
Oh,
but
All
it was
this time I'm
unbelievable.
not crossing my fingers.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Robert. Go ahead.
So, Ed, your parents, if they
Yes.
were going across Canada, would have really liked it. But we did some radical things. But what we really found was on weekends. Okay, so weekdays you'd see people. It'd be salespeople, right? They'd go across the country. It would be whatever back every week because that was their sales route and stuff. And they're Chevys and Fords. Weekends when people were paying their own money, it was BMWs and Mercedes and Cadillacs.
Oh, yeah.
Totally different customer. And I'm sure with Wyndham's portfolio and the Ascendant one, the same thing. All of a sudden it's like,
Actually,
company
hotel.
isn't paying. I love St. Regis. I love Four Seasons, but not when I'm writing
plenty
the
of
check.
customers at leading hotels who, they stayed in leading hotels for many of their trips and things along those lines. But, if you're taking junior to college,
Yeah.
you're staying the Super 8 because
I mean,
what they need for that trip is a bed and a shower.
right.
Yeah.
If you think through it, there are so many trips that all you need is a bed and a shower.
Right.
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 So it's
Even
hard
if
to
you are that
justify.
kind of customer.
Right.
Oh.
I mean, it's actually funny. I mean, you guys probably get it a lot, but as someone who's a straight vendor is listening to hotels ask about the psychology of someone who's willing to pay this much for a room, will they do this? And I look at it and I'm like, it's not that big of a price difference. Like
Right,
from
right.
here to here, you're not. This is the same person. It's a different trip.
Right.
Someone who can pay $200 a night for a hotel also will pay $600 a night for the right hotel.
That's right.
And they'll also pay $89 a night for a hotel.
That's right.
When I went up to New York for the HSMAI Digital Marketing Strategy Conference, I could not stay at the Marriott Marquis because I just could not justify the group rate.
Right.
So where did I stay? I stayed at the Row.
I too.
Did you? And that's a great hotel for what?
$79 plus the
Yeah.
resort fee.
I was
And
at the Night Hotel right
Right.
across the street.
Yeah, and so you guys, you see what I'm saying? It's like, so
Completely.
because I think the group rate was $300, and
Sure.
I'm like, I'm literally spending less than 6 hours a night
Right.
at this hotel. I want comfort, safety, and proximity, and that's it.
and the food court at the Row is great.
It's amazing. The
It's
Row is
really good.
when I was in the elevator and I finally saw the old elevator placard and realized what hotel the
Oh, yeah,
Row
it
was.
Milford Plaza.
Yeah, it was the Milford Plaza, and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, they did a great job. Yeah,
But and Highgate, and Curry and Jacob, who always headed revenue management, now is kind of off on their investment side, but they've been driving the other hoteliers in New York nuts because they've been first quarter they trashed the market with
Yep.
those rates. But now you start going into peak season, all that European, they're popping up $200-$300 a night
Yep.
because of the demand. But they're running that thing like a cruise ship. They're running it full. They know what it does. Okay, we've got the staff. Let's
Yep.
go. What will the market bear? And they figured that out. Same as the all-inclusive resorts, right? You run these things full. All of a sudden, you've got a fixed cost operation, and then it's just how do we yield this and go, and they're done. So
By the way, we have to give Lauren some props because he makes a great point in the text for those of you who are just watching and not reading along. He said, stereotyping a guest is only one thing, or I would say segmenting a guest is only one thing, is the bane of current marketing interpretation of new demographic modeling.
Yep.
Taking into account additional marketing indicators as previous guest are the key element of new marketing. Yeah. The problem with demographics is demographics are not predictive.
Mm-hmm.
Demographics are flat out not predictive.
right.
Behaviors are predictive. And if you get a good sense of what people have done in the past, you're going to have a better sense of what they're likely to do. As long as, to Ed's point, to Robert's point, you're also clear on what is the purpose of this trip and segmenting
Right.
them to say, what are they trying to accomplish while they're here, and what is the right price, proximity, quality model for this specific guest for this specific trip.
Right.
I mean, I recently just paid the most for a single night in a hotel room in the state of Florida that I've ever done, and knew going into it that the hotel was not going to be near worth what the room was. But it was because I was going with my daughter to go to a theme park, and I wanted her to have the full experience. And you know what? Yeah, it was a low quality hotel for the price of a 4.5-star resort. And I walked away going, I'd probably do that again for that type of trip only.
So you got value out of it, knowing you were overpaying.
Yeah, because listen, for the room,
no
way. There's no way that room is worth that much. Walk outside the room, and the landscape was amazing, and the proximity was amazing. Like, so they over-delivered areas that you don't normally hang your entire decision on, and it actually made it to where you look past the room.
Did you have early park access?
Ironically, the park I picked that day didn't, because there wasn't enough attendance. So, I mean, being a Florida resident, we buy the ticket that has blackouts. Because you never want to be at these parks during blackout time anyways. So also they don't do extended hours. But this is a case where I'm price sensitive in especially Central Florida. I mean, I know I live here, but there are times we stay at hotels here, and I'm price sensitive to what I'll pay because I know what you can get. And yet this hotel, I mean, I paid more for this hotel than I would for a nice couples getaway to New York City for a weekend. And it nowhere near delivered the value of the room, but it was the overall, the landscaping and the walking under a tree to get into the hotel room, and that was on purpose. These were things, and then so again, it's understanding what someone's willing to pay based on the situation they're in, which you can't get from demographics. Like, all demographics will tell you is this person likely to at some point be okay with paying this? Right. That does nothing for marketing. It just says yes, which that's a large amount of people who would do that. So,
and again, I go back. It's my favorite word when we talk about this stuff. It is predictive. Is it actually predictive of what somebody's likely to do? And most of the time, demographics just aren't predictive. You all, I'm sure you know the famous story. Now, this is outside the hotel industry, but you know the famous story about when they reintroduced the Mini Cooper.
Yep.
The target market for the Mini Cooper was young women.
Mm-hmm.
They felt that this was a city car. It's appropriate for people who don't carry a lot of stuff with them, don't have family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they sold the car almost entirely, I mean, hugely skewed to middle-aged guys.
Yep.
By far. Now, you can make all the jokes you want there about who the car was intended to appeal to and who it was that actually bought it. But I mean, the reality was that the demographics simply were not predictive at all.
Right.
And
or middle-aged guys like
to attract younger women.
Well, and Lauren makes a good point in the comments. She said, to be predictive, the data must be indicative of intent. Right. And that's the key. That's the behavioral side. You can run all the demographics, but you don't get a handle on that intent. The other thing is, and again, this ties back to the pricing for going direct.
Oh, you got props.
You got props.
I was running behind.
Not for your original thought, but for actually.
Yeah, props when you reference Lauren. Apparently. If you say his name, you get at least 5 or 10. Oh, look at that! There we go.
Lauren Gray.
But it really comes down to the price differential. Two friends, classic example. 2 guys I know. One's a cardiologist. The other's a kind of big time real estate developer. They're going out. They want to go to Utah skiing. They want to stay at Rustler's Lodge, right? I don't think that's they leading. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But all inclusive, $800 a night, probably. Probably maybe 1,000, something like that. But one guy, let's say they deal. One guy got it for $790, the other for $805. The guy who paid $805 is an idiot. Now, they could both have afforded $1,200. It doesn't matter. The price was irrelevant. But the guy at $805 is an idiot, and the guy at $790 is a genius. because he knew how to do it, and he's not paying more than he had to. And so this whole the transparency, metasearch and book direct versus not, it's going to be very interesting because you do see a lot of, especially in the TripAdvisor booking widget. That's almost all that I'm looking at now for the microcosm of what the hell is going on in the hotel industry. But it's really interesting. You get these little dollar variations here and there, and I know TripAdvisor's figuring that out. Expedia certainly knows, across all this. Hotel groups, I don't think they have that level of information, but they really know, yep, here's the number. We can go under on this one or over on this one, or the differential between the Marriott Marquis versus the Hilton Midtown New York. You go, oh, wait, yes, one should be $25 more than the other, but that compresses on these dates. It expands on other dates. And those dynamics.
Quickly, I came across something interesting. I know this is like, you reminded me of it by saying TripAdvisor. So you guys consult for hotels directly on making decisions and everything. So have you ever spent time looking at TripAdvisor's review system that hotels can use? Like to actually drive more reviews. So I read in because I'm like, man, why would a hotel give TripAdvisor their entire marketing list of guests? And so you read it, and in their Q&A, we go through great lengths to make sure we never use that email for anything else except for the review. And then 3 Q&As down, it talks about, but in order for that review to be posted to TripAdvisor, the person has to be a registered user of TripAdvisor.
Right. And on that side, they can do whatever the heck they want to do with it.
Yeah. So, I mean, why do hotels do this? Why are they continuing to feed a model that's eventually going to bite them? They're going to hate it as much as they do Expedia and Priceline, but they're literally giving their customers to TripAdvisor, who already is the #1 travel website in the world.
Tim, can I answer something that, again, will be way before Ed's time? The Good Housekeeping seal of approval. That might be before Tim's time, too.
The answer,
but that was kind of, Good Housekeeping was a magazine, right? It was just a publication, and they had this kind of quality thing, and you got this little seal. And 50s, 60s, that was kind of the, I didn't really see it a lot because it had really kind of tailed off. I think it was big.
You didn't give Good Housekeeping your entire folder of guest contact information and said, please, I do not want these people to buy direct from me in the future. So please find a way in a model between now and giving you this.
The hotel, the answer is the hotels. The hotels are looking at if they get good TripAdvisor reviews, right, and higher level reviews, and you get back all the Cornell studies and things like that. It's like, yes, you can charge more. Well, that's because you have a better hotel, sort of thing. Right, but the reviews are kind of this neutral third-party endorsement.
No, I get social proof.
They're good.
I mean, I'm all about social proof. What we're talking about here is
the
way it's being done.
Right.
Well, there's a couple things, right? Because let's split this into its 2 constituent parts for a second. There is the distinction between getting people to generate more reviews, and there's the giving TripAdvisor your email list so that they can contact on your behalf and get more reviews, right?
Right.
The second one, I've done with one hotel one time, and we weren't at all satisfied with the outcome of it, but we went into it as a test.
Sure.
Right? Flat out. So I don't think it makes a lot of sense for the hotels to do that in most cases. There's probably exceptions out there, but I mean, generally speaking, it's probably
brand new hotel, something like that. Good quality, brand new hotel launching.
But again,
the flip side, I want to go back to Robert's. I want to go back to Robert's Good Housekeeping seal of approval, because the issue with TripAdvisor is, they only recently, in real terms, got into the booking game at all. And fundamentally, particularly if you were an independent hotel, you kind of had to have them, or else people didn't know whether or not you were a good place to stay. And we've definitely seen that as you move up the rankings, you get more direct business as well as more business generally. The other factor is, Good Housekeeping was always a media partner. TripAdvisor was a media partner until they weren't.
But they would say they still are.
Oh, they would claim they still are, but they're
also
very
say
much on the
that
fence.
they don't use these
They're
emails
a
to give
hybrid.
them for
Right,
anything.
right.
You're right. They
Well,
don't.
Right.
Because
They
they get
don't.
the person to register.
Right.
Exactly.
And then the last part of this,
Which is
the
a
third
very,
party-
very clever business model.
It is.
Right.
Well, listen, what do they always say? When something's free, that means you're the product.
correct.
Right.
Right. But the other part of this is, the third party validation. And yeah, I know we all know about social proofs, but we tested this when I worked for Wyndham specifically. And if we had to have ratings and reviews because people were leaving the site anyway.
Yeah.
Had to have them. When we used ratings and reviews that were not a validated third party that people trusted, our customers literally said, this is crap. I don't believe it. And they left and went to TripAdvisor anyway.
Right.
And read the TripAdvisor reviews and went, these are crap too. I don't believe them.
Right,
but
right,
at least
right.
I have a theme.
But at least I trust this, that now it's literally crap. So
Right.
It was, or literally good, as the case may be. And literally, when we tested using TripAdvisor reviews,
Not figuratively at all.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. But when we tested using TripAdvisor reviews on site, conversion rate went up.
Yeah,
plain and simple.
Yes, but I think you can let's look at what Marriott does. If you go to Marriott's site, they have reviews, and if you look at how they position the reviews, they're actually Marriott reviews that they're collecting through Bazaar Voice. But right underneath them are 2 TripAdvisor seals.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I bet you the way they position that and the way they show it, and the fact that the way even the UI looks very similar to TripAdvisor, and the fact that they're obviously not curating out everything. They're scrubbing. There's no question they're scrubbing because there's not as many extremes in their reviews as you see on TripAdvisor. But that seems like a better plan, and then lose what you're going to lose versus hand over your database.
Again, the only place I'm really pushing back on this, Ed, is I think you're conflating 2 different things. I agree with you. Don't hand over the database.
Yeah.
Right.
On the flip side, if you're an independent hotel, most independent hotels don't have the budget to go get a Bazaar Voice, right? The reality is they need that reality. We do the same thing. We take comment cards for some of our independent properties we work with, take those comment cards and absolutely merchandise. This was the best experience I ever had. My God, we were treated like family, or whatever.
Yep.
Do it all the time. We also do use TripAdvisor in many cases because it actually works.
And I think using TripAdvisor is one thing. Driving, putting in effort to drive people to rate you on TripAdvisor, I think is foolish, because the people who are going to use TripAdvisor are going to use TripAdvisor.
That is correct.
And everyone that you push into using TripAdvisor, you're putting yourself at risk at turning them into people who are going to use TripAdvisor. You're feeding the beast. And that's more of what I wanted to kind of bring up was, what's the advice being given out there? Because when I was reading this, I'm like, please tell me this isn't fooling anyone. This is the worst version of a trap I've seen, and I just kind of wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on it. And I use TripAdvisor. I use TripAdvisor because they have a better search tool than even the OTAs do. When you're trying to search a market and you don't care what you're going to do, you just kind of want to find something cool. They have a good discovery search. And I do contribute to TripAdvisor, but I also make sure for every bad review I contribute to TripAdvisor, I do 3 or 4 good reviews, because that's the other problem.
You're in the industry. You're not the norm.
But it's because that's a problem. An upset person is going to tell 100 people. A happy person is going to tell no one.
But you have a difference between the ratings and the reviews too, because the average TripAdvisor rating, and the number of people who don't write anything, is massive. It's like somewhere around 4 or 4.5. I mean, most everybody's like, this is pretty good, and there's not a lot of differentiation. But when you really get into the comments, that's when you really get the
I wish there was a way for someone to go to TripAdvisor, like as not a hotel, and ask the people who write these reviews questions. Like, did the mildew on the shower curtain really ruin your vacation? I just want to ask.
In some cases, those are agencies who are behaving on behalf of their customer, aggressively, trying to down a competitor or something like that.
Yep.
And that's, that's
Right.
an ugly
That's
side of
called-
the business.
That's called trolling.
Well, it's also
it's worse than
also called illegal. It's a
Yeah.
violation of FTC regulations. So,
Right.
I mean,
Absolutely.
but
But I also know there's a resort down in Riviera Maya. They opened in November of a particular year. Yeah. So, right before Thanksgiving, right? All of a sudden, by December, they had 200 great reviews. And it was a good hotel, sort of thing. But they ran, over that period, they ran 8% occupancy. It was only a couple hundred rooms, right? So they got somebody out there. That hotel still ranks near the top. It was like seeding the machine. And it was complete, whatever you call it, review spam or whatever.
Right.
And that was it. That was their strategy. And they've done it for almost every opening hotel they use. Now, I don't know who they use. And they are like, oh, no, we would never do anything like that. It's like, bullshit. But that's it. It's now part of their opening marketing strategy. And some of the guys who do this stuff talk about personas. And those are, a lot of these reviewers, they're sock puppets. I mean, that's it. And they look like completely legitimate people, but there's nothing there except some sort of distant agency who's really figured out, here's how we do it and not get caught. And it's, unfortunately, Google can go change the algorithm and say, hey, wait, we've got some search spam in here, tweak this, shift that, adjust the knobs and the levers, and they can push it down. On this, you can't. I mean, it's really hard. And I can't remember, it was Chicago or Cornell or somebody came out and said, oh no, we've got this algorithm that can go figure out fake reviews based on, the language used. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
Well, so somebody's doing really bad. Yeah. You'll get the idiots who are posting it from the hotel's IP address.
Let me help.
You're not gonna
Exclamation points equal fake review.
That's not a millennial thing? Oh, had no idea.
Because they would just post emojis.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's true.
TripAdvisor would go a long way to have an emoji review system.
That actually is very interesting. That would probably be next time I see Steve Coffer, I'll ask him that. That actually was genius.
I mean,
to bring this full
how
circle,
great would it
but again, you've got to figure
to
out.
see, like, I'm looking at a hotel and I'm looking
Yeah.
for the poop emoji, because if it's the poop emoji, it's not a good hotel. Don't go to the hotel that for some reason has a lot of zucchinis.
Right.
hey now.
Hey,
But is he being used sarcastically or not? You got to figure out the tone and the
well, the
it's very
irony of the
difficult.
poop emoji is hard.
Yes.
But to come full circle on your question, Ed, I mean, at least my current advice to folks is you absolutely should have your own comment card. You absolutely should be getting people to contact you directly. You absolutely should be building your database. And where appropriate, you should also be getting TripAdvisor reviews to, first and foremost, making sure that you're going to get good reviews. I mean, I don't think this is current advice because we've been doing this for so long. This is kind of old, but a lot of the response is, hey, if you had a great experience, here's our comment card and here's our TripAdvisor page. If you had a terrible experience, here's my email, I'm the GM, or here's my phone number, I'm the GM.
Yeah.
Contact me directly and we'll take care of it for you.
Right. Yep.
So it's
So here's that was another thing I wanted to talk about is, I mean, if I ran a hotel, I would actually have a policy that my managers are not allowed to help you if the place you decide to first tell us we didn't do a good job is a public forum. We'll apologize. We'll hope we can earn your business back. But if you're posting to get resolution, we will only be allowed to give resolution if you contact us through an approved channel.
So you have to remember, if you're responding to a review, in a public place, you're really not responding to that review for the person.
No,
who
you're
wrote the
responding to
Right.
the people, right?
Yeah, you're responding for all the folks who are going to read that review after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you can do both. But I don't know that I would make that a statement.
Well, no, I think well, listen.
Yeah, you get some blowback.
I'm a
blowback
bit
on
more
that.
brazen.
Remember the cupcake lady down in Arizona?
Yeah, but listen, here's the thing. If you really think about it, if you want your problem solved, go through the channel that can solve your problem. If you elect to skip that channel, we will be apologetic. We will respond with apology, but we will do nothing for you. if that's your channel of choice.
Yeah.
If
Mhm.
public
But I
forum's
think-
your channel of choice, we will publicly apologize that we did not meet your desired need. However, we will do nothing else.
So you saw my tweet or whatever it was to United on my last trip?
Sure did.
Sure did. That was after trying to talk to supervisors and people like that.
Yep.
You know?
And,
so,
and guess what? They deserved what they got.
oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But they should also appreciate the fact you gave them the opportunity
Oh, yeah. For
to
sure.
make it right.
For
and-
sure.
And so, and I think that should be the appropriate thing. But I think the problem is because of the way people communicate now, and communication's an issue, and using correct communication is lost on all of humanity. I mean, I deal with it in many different ways where email's used where emails shouldn't be used, chat is used where chat shouldn't be used. I don't think it's that bad of an idea for a business to say, if you have a problem, we're very interested in making it right. If your version of making it right includes us giving you some form of a refund or something like that, you have to go here first.
Right.
If you go here first, we will apologize.
Right.
And that's it.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
And I think that would
That's hard. That's hard to have as a public policy, though, because then you're going to wind up, you will get blowback from that, from people saying they're trying to suppress this and that sort of thing. But that's certainly, the growth in groups like, Checkmate and Alice and that sort of thing, where, managing the communication and certainly the growth of messaging.
TripAdvisor,
those messaging platforms.
Those platforms that try to step in and give the hotel the opportunity to fix the problem, they actually are actively trying to work against that because they know if TripAdvisor becomes just truth about what the trip was, like had a problem, it was solved, it was good, people will stop reading TripAdvisor.
Right.
TripAdvisor is read because it's entertaining.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
I mean, it's research that's entertaining.
Correct.
Yeah, but people want reality. They want a legitimate review. Like, is this good? Is this bad? And if the hotels are doing, I think the hotel industry is fragmented enough where the hotels who really do a good job, and when people check in, they establish that here's the process. If you have anything, here's how you can get a hold of us. Right? We are here to help. And they've already thought through all the stuff that could go wrong in advance. Anyway, those are the really good hotels, right? Preemptive. They've taken preemptive measures to make sure things go right.
Pointing to Lauren's comment here, it's actually a good question. Is
it's
how
a
do
great
you
question.
communicate to the public that you want to engage with on social, but now conditionalize it as a general dialogue, not a resolution forum? I think that's I think it's something you can do. I think it's something you can do. You have to do it carefully, and you have to be willing to stay behind it. But I think the bottom line is just like, listen, if you leave a note on the floor in a hotel lobby and expect it to be treated with the same exact regard as if you walked up in front of someone and spoke to them, like, I think someone at some point needs to start going, what's appropriate? And so I think if you weave it into, if you're looking for resolution that includes some type of monetary impact,
right,
social is not where it's going to be done. And I don't think you have to be any less clear than that. Is if you want monetary impact, you call this number, do this address, or speak to this person on property. If it's not monetary impact, like if you don't care about that, do it wherever you want. We will engage you wherever you want to engage.
So there's two takeaways from this for me. One is I think you can do precisely that and have it not be a public policy, because I think any hotelier or restaurateur or anybody who's dealing with social reviews and ratings and things along those lines, if you're allowing yourself to be blackmailed, you need to fix the way you approach that. Right? You have to understand what is an appropriate response to a customer who's dissatisfied, period, and then address that appropriately based on that. Don't allow yourself to be blackmailed from that perspective. If I've seen it happen loads of times. I've had clients who've had this happen where people have approached them and basically lit them up and said, and if you don't do X and Y and Z, I'm going to go and do this. And
I'm going to tell my 8,000 Twitter followers.
And the smart hoteliers, the ones who do this well, are the ones who say, I hear what you're saying. Here's what I'm willing to do for you. If you do that, I'm going to respond. I'm going to respond of these are the things that we tried to do to make it right for you, and let the market determine whether or not we do the right thing.
Yep.
The second takeaway is that Ed St. Onge believes that social media forums are the equivalent of dropping a piece of paper in a hotel lobby. No,
they are. No, but I mean, listen, I love forums. They're my favorite. But if you actually follow any forum, you can pick the same character in every forum.
Yeah,
you
for
can
sure.
characterize this is the person who stirs stuff up. This
Right.
is the person who's legitimately here to communicate through this. This is the person who doesn't know better and is just like picking this communication. And it's any form of forum. Public forum, social forum.
And most consumers are getting smart enough that they do the same thing. They can tell who the troll is.
My concern is where, you know, you listen to the industry obsess over the millennial movement. There's one big difference in the younger generation that actually should be thought about, which is they are not as effective in open communication.
Right.
You can look at the girl who complained about her company because the snacks were crappy and they didn't pay her enough to live in San Francisco. Okay, but they paid you well and they paid you like what you could possibly justify for that position. Oh, and by the way, a public forum is not where you air that. You know,
but that's
so
also
the concern is that
addressing-
generation,
Right.
that generation is going to become a problem. Where they think public forum is communication.
Right.
Well, and I agree with you. I think the right response to that is how do you give them the appropriate places to connect? Right. The ways that are appropriate to their needs. That say it's not a public thing, but it's a private thing. Of here's a messaging app. Here's some other platform that is more appropriate to the needs of that specific.
Well, and you know, to answer
the
what
same thing
Lauren's
we brought the
saying,
web
I think
into
a perfect
play. We did the
example
same
of
thing
it.
when social came into play. We did the same thing when voice came into play. Right.
Right.
Communications technologies change all the time.
Yeah.
Well, and
we
if
are
you look at
undergoing another shift.
look at the airlines. Delta has, you know, at Delta on Twitter,
Mhm.
they've got Delta Assist, so they're trying to channel off, you know, the customer care stuff into a separate account. And boy, if you have an issue, they will be the first one to go. DM me, right? We'll follow you. You know, they'll do that. Let's get it off of here and let's try to sort it out.
And that's it's akin to doing what I'm talking about. It's
exactly.
creating the policy doesn't have to state this is what it is, but the policy can be here are channels of communication.
Right.
Use these for these types of problems.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
But then, like you said, don't be held hostage if someone I think if someone's using a public forum inappropriately to try and, you know, lambaste you, is basically say, you know, sorry, hope we can earn your business.
And
like literally, that's it. Don't.
There are bloggers. There are certainly bloggers out there, and you know, not necessarily the most reputable travel blogger, but how to get deals from hotels. Do this and switch this and do that. You know, make sure when you book, you know, if you have a party of 4 or whatever, you know, book, you know, 2 adults and a child if they don't charge, and you get your room for, you know, all the little, you know, like life hacky type thing. But then there'll be how to get an upgrade. I mean, the classic is the what do they call it? The $20 have you heard the $20 sandwich?
No.
When you if you want an upgraded room, I don't know if this works, but you hand the desk clerk between your identification and your credit card a $20 bill. I don't know, but I've seen this touted, and you're sure that goes, and I'm sure a lot of desk
who came
clerks
up with that? Desk clerks.
I meant,
but I mean, you see these, and
sandwich,
people say, "I tried the $20 sandwich trick, and it really worked. I got an upgraded suite or whatever."
You know what else really works? Be pleasant and ask the person how their day's going.
Exactly. I'll give you a real world scenario though. To add your case, I had a hotel in New Orleans where they had a guest who wrote a very nasty review because they were very upset about the noise. Now, this is a property. Hear me out, though. It's a property on Bourbon Street, right? And they tried to accommodate the guest while they were there. The guest was dissatisfied all the same. They tried to move them to a room in the back of the house, you know, away from the street and things along those lines. They were very dissatisfied. They offered to give them a discount for part of it, and they were still very dissatisfied. And the guest went and wrote a very, very nasty review. And the hotel then responded and said, "We did this. We understand your concerns. We understand that some people want to come here and try to get a good night's sleep. We do make it a point to say we're right on Bourbon Street, which is one of the things that most people who come here love about the hotel. We did try to move them. We did try to do this. We're very sorry it was unsatisfactory. We do hope you'll consider us the next time you want to come to Bourbon Street and have a really great time.
Right.
End of story.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
That's the thing.
And that's all you can do.
I got to do two quick things, and I apologize. One, unfortunately, we have crossed the 3 o'clock mark on the East Coast and the 2 o'clock coast
I'm late for
mark on the Central time. So, in the interest of our listeners' time, our viewers' time, etc., and our time, we probably do need to wrap this up. But I do have to say, Lauren wanted a New Jersey accent, and since I'm the guy who was born and raised in New Jersey, I would tell you, if you're going to give somebody the $20 sandwich, what you got to do is go, hey, how about you do a little something for me, all right? And that's how you do that.
Nice.
Nonetheless, gentlemen, this has been a pleasure. I don't know if you want to continue without me. I do.
I think that's
No,
great.
I need
And
to
we
jump
did
too.
successfully have a conversation that we weren't all in agreement, so you're welcome.
That's right. Without Lauren here.
I figured the topic would cause a little bit of
Absolutely
communication this time, so there we
Absolutely.
go. It's 3 a.m. in Shanghai
It's 3 a.m. in
Yes,
Shanghai.
exactly.
so he's just getting started. Lauren,
And
have a
to
good time.
all, a good night.
That's right.
Lauren's just trying to sober up so he can get to sleep. That's why he couldn't use the VPN.
And with
Had
that,
he had that lighting set up very dramatically. You can tell. You couldn't see the red eye.
Lauren, did you want to type your normal end to this so that way at least it got the and thank you for joining.
Yes.
All right. Hey guys,
Secret
great.
hangovers never get sober.
Exactly.
There you
Great
go.
conversation.
Lauren is now left on that note.
Yep.
Exactly.
All right. Look forward to talking to
Very
you guys
good.
next week.
Talk to you next week.
Yeah.
Next week. Thanks for joining.